Good morning all on this beautiful day as we're heading into October, and so the first of our October class rounds. The cards this week are in really to help you make some cards as you've suggested out of scraps of DSP you might have, and some simple laying up designs. So I'll share these with you now. So the choices of the cards are either of these, and I've tried to accede to your wishes there, and I know many have just said just pop whatever you like in, which I've done, so thank you for that. And this one, we've got all of this is in the pack, and it's got this tulip design in it, which was really pretty. So I'll now step through some other items that I've put in your packs. So I'll go through the packs, but first of all I also wanted to share with you that the supplies are actually from this suite, so Flowers for Every Season. It does have actually flowers for every season. So you've got the summery look, the spring look, autumn and winter. Well, I'm not sure about winter, but anyhow, Christmas would, for us, of course, is summer with the poinsettia. So it's a DSP pack. It's 48 sheets, and it's 6 by 6. So that's why there's a bit of a choice. The other thing I've included in your pack is a random pick of one of these sheets, which is something else. Sometimes the paper on the back will go really well with what's on the front. Other times maybe not so you can pair it with something else. And there they are. So a random pick for you, but I've also put a one sheet wonder design for cutting this, so you actually don't need to use the back side of it if you don't want to. Right. So let's step on to what's actually in your kit. So that's it's page 10 of your annual catalogue. So let's step through what we're going to do. So these are the choice of the designs, as I've said, and we'll just move that out of the way while I go through what's actually in the kit. So this is the first one. As I said, it's a choice of either the sunflowers or this blue-green looking one, but I've shown you the sunflower papers. So this one is actually a flip, and the blue-green one, mostly for you guys, in yours it's the same thing, so I've just flipped. So it's actually, and I'll list the measurements in the tutorial for you, which I intend to do today. So it's based on a card base, which is the Misty Moonlight, which is in this DSP. One sheet of Whisper White for the top, one sheet for the inside. Some layers for you to lay up your greeting. The other thing this does is that if your edges aren't quite right in the middle, it'll sort of cover a bit of that up for you, so it's a bit of a handy touch for you. So there are those, and I've also put a little bit of bling in, so a couple of rhinestones, the small ones, one large, and the ribbons once again are from the Flowers for Every Season combo. There's another one which is a check in a Just Jade. It's a gingham sort of looking, but I haven't put that in because we're not using that one this time. And there's a strip left over, so I thought you might actually want to use the strip on the inside of the card. You could lay it there, you could lay it here. I've left that up to you. They were some leftover pieces, so I wanted to be able to share them with you. So that one is that card. The alternate cards will have this DSP, which is once again from the same pack. So it's softer colours, blue, green. Now I ran out of the checky one that went with that. Look, let me show you. This one here, I ran out of that because I was running out of this paper. So I've actually substituted a different one, same colour, which is one of the Misty, it's one of the in colours, so it's Just Jade. And that would go like that. And there's the scrap of that bit, so you could use either side. All right, so let's now move on to how you would put this card together. My suggestion to you is the trickiest bit is laying up these middle bits first of all, laying up your squares first of all. And my suggestion with that is to actually lay them up on your Whisper White base first. You would also want to use your bone folder, because these were all cut at the one time. One's, it's, let me think, what is it? What are the measurements? 7.2 and 3.6. Let me just check that. No, it's not 3.6. It's 4.6. Okay, 4.6 and 9.2. So it's 1/3, 2/3. 4.6 square and 9.2 by 4.6. So because they're all cut at the one time, you just need to use your bone folder to flatten out these edges here. Because that's what... So what I did when I did mine, I did this first so I could really eyeball how it was going to look and whether I wanted to close up any of these, the margins between the blocks. But you can see that sort of works fairly well. So that would be my first suggestion. And when you're putting it together, and as you're doing it, I would leave the other pieces in place and like start with one. So glue this one, apply glue on the other side. I found Tombo's the easiest thing to do for this. It doesn't matter which way these bits go. So you've got your borders set. So start with one down and leave the others in place as you're going, and then slowly build up your design. So once you've got this part done, then you're really ready to mount that on your card base. Okay, and then you can work on your work on these ones. Just get glued together. You'll stamp a greeting on this one, and I'll show you that stamp set in a jiffy that I've used. And then you can attach your bling a little bit later. Now, when I did mine, I'm actually going to stop this video because I'll come back to this later for you, and I'll show you how I tacked my ribbon down because it'll just make life a little bit easier for you. So I'll stop this now and then I'll come back. I am now back. So I've got three down, and I've glued my fourth piece to go down, and I'm just going to try and pop this down for you now so you can see. Okay, rightio, there you go. Now when I wanted to put my ribbon down, I'll show you how I did that because it's a handy hint for you to know. You could use some tear and tape, which I will do now actually because it's at hand, or you could use a bit of snail, or you could use our new seal. Now I know that this is going to cover that, so I can do that. I'll use a pair of adhesive scissors and snip that off. When I initially did this and before I put the tape on, I actually looked at that and thought, I wonder how that card front will go with going through an embossing folder. And the one I've used is the one that I find really handy. It's got a bit of a textile look to it, and I know we've used it before in other card kits. So I actually ran it through the Big Shot, and you'll be able to, oh no, my cut and emboss machine, you'll be able to see the texture's gone through both. That's got a couple of effects. One, it gives a different effect, but two, if your edges aren't quite straight, it tends to blur those lines so you don't see it as much. Okay, so that's what I did. But the other thing is, one of the reasons I put the ribbon in here, for the same reason, it'll disguise if these things are out of whack just a little bit. So back to where I was going with the ribbon. So all I would do with that is peel that off, grab my ribbon. Now it is quite long and you may well want to trim it back, but I've decided it was better to give you too much than too little. And I wanted it, for a simple card, I still wanted it to look really special actually, with ribbon and pretty stuff. And the flavour, you know, to me it was like spring or summer coming with this sort of almost muslin sort of ribbon. So I did that much. And the other thing I did with the blue is I actually put the blue on top of it. Now, maybe a little bit problematic with this. We'll see how we go with it, because I'm going to do the same thing again. Just because it's easier, I find it easier to anchor the ribbon here and lay my my other bits and pieces on top of it than the other way around. And what I did with this ribbon was I made a couple of loops. So a bit fumble fingered here. Oh, I mustn't have done that. I must have done this with it instead because I think the loops didn't work. Here we go. That's what I did. All right, so I've got sort of, I will end up with having this ribbon sort of floating beneath that, which will just give a bit of a, you know, nice bling to it. So then you would glue one on top of the other and stamp your greeting on here. Now this greeting is obviously large enough for hello you or thinking of you out of, and I use this set, which is the Life is Beautiful. I use these two. So that is big enough for that, or it's probably big enough for happy birthday. So you could do that. Then when you have done that much, then you would adhere them to this piece. And you could choose whether you're going to use glue or dimensionals. If you're going to use dimensionals, and it really doesn't matter, or you could use glue dots for a really strong anchor. And if you did that, you might want to pop that up on dimensionals. So I'll let you work out how you're going to adhere that when you get to that point in time. And then I've just given you some bits of diamonds to add on to your card for a bit of bling. So that would be that much of it. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to take up all this time on the video. You'd then glue that to the front of your card and you'd do the inside. Now with the inside of this one, I'm sort of thinking with this, it's such a lovely, bright, really sunny sort of design. I would probably, on this card, I would probably put this here, and then I would put my greeting for the inside of the card on this part here. So that's how I would finish that card. And really, the other one, the hello card, is exactly the same, and that's what I've done with it. So that's the first part of the card. That is up on dimensionals. It's not all that secure, so I think afterwards I'm going to retrofit a dimensional in there and one under here just to make that a little bit more secure. So that's the outside of that card and that's the inside. And what will I do now? I wanted to show you a bit of break in proceedings before we segue to the next card. I'm going to show you where we were with our masking. Do you remember we did this masking at our Zoom? My apologies to the girls who weren't at the Zoom. So that was just a sample I did. That was the masking. And then I thought, I wonder what I shall do with this. So then I made this card using the Life is Beautiful stamp set. I made this card with it. And we've used a couple of different things. So on this one I've masked it. I stamped in Blackberry Bliss, stamped the these dotty things in Magenta Madness, which was the color, this color pink in here, but I wanted to give it a spring summer feel. So then I came over with the leaves, which would normally I guess be designed as autumn leaves in this set, but I've used the soft pear pizzazz to bring in our beautiful greens that are in the garden at the moment, and some bling which was from the Artistry Blooms sequence set. So that's that card. Now I'm going to stop this and then I'll get set up for the next card, which you'll be able to move along to. Back again quickly. As I was making this video and looking at it, I thought, you know, that gingham ribbon would look really pretty with all of these DSPs. Look how gorgeous that is. So I've cut some sections up for you and I've included each in your special treat for this week. So enjoy it. It's fun and the sun's shining. How good's that? Bye-bye. Okay, this is our next card and we're using the same DSP stack, which is Flowers for Every Season. Once again, pages 10, 11 of the catalogue, of the annual catalogue. Once again, I've used the same Thinking of You. You could use, obviously, any stamp you like that would fit in that, or you could swap out your greeting. I've paired it with the Magenta Madness DS cardstock because that is this colour here, and a bit of the Magenta Madness in colour ribbon for this one. Once again, all part of this coordinating suite, or maybe the ribbon isn't, I think it's just available as one of the in colours. I've also used silver on this one just to give it a bit of a highlight, and I've cut some bling for you, a couple of little bits of foliage for you out of this one as well, just to add a bit of extra dimension. We've used the in colour gems, and I've put 4 in your kit. Now I've only used 2. One of the reasons I've put the 4 in is sometimes they can be problematic getting them off, so you need to be super careful so they don't delaminate. If they do delaminate, you can use glue dots to stick them on. So I just thought I'd do this. And the other thing we've got here is the flocked poinsettia paper. You've used that before. And remember, to apply this, you sponge with a tiny bit of glue. So on the white, it will not show, it generally speaking will not show if you're a bit heavy-handed on the back of it, but if you're using the same technique, you need to be a little bit more careful, and I'll show you what I did when I wasn't, but I'll show you that later. So that's this card. I'll show you what's in your kit, and they're not too hard to put together, these cards, so I think you'll have fun, and you can adapt them to your own designs, and I'll share the One Sheet Wonder card map with you in a minute. So you've got your card base, which is Whisper White. You've got your flocked paper. I've used a different one. I've got a different one here, mainly just because I've run out of the other one. That's all in the kits. A couple of bits of foliage from, I think it's from the Forever Greenery or Forever Fern one. I'll check it out and I'll make sure I have it in the tutorial for you. DSP, which was the tulips to bring in the colour of our beautiful summer, spring, whatever. And some coordinating DSP that tends to be a bit more subtle, so that the other one can really speak out. So you don't want too much that's conflicting. So the method of putting this together is lay your sponge, a bit of glue onto the back of your DSP flocked paper. I use a Stampin' Sponge, my silicone mat, and I dab very gently so I haven't got a glob anywhere, and then lay that down. You would mount up your DSP on the bases. Just use glue or Tombow, whatever, glue or tear and tape, whatever you're happy with. And the same with this one. I've overlapped mine a little bit. I'll show you how I would do that. Just because I didn't feel they sat happily like that. I mean, obviously you can change your design around any which way you like. Stamp your greeting on here. Lay that up one on top of the other. Pop it on. Oh no, don't pop it on top yet. Play with your ribbon, tie a bow or do whatever. Pop that on top. And then, as I said, you've got 4 of these rather than 2. And then I poked my bit of foliage in after the event when I worked out where I wanted it to go. So that card, it's relatively quick, but it gives you some ideas about what you can do with some of your scrap. So I'll go back to the finished card again, and I have not actually done the inside of this yet. I'm still playing with some ideas, so I'll have a think about that in a little while. So that's the finished card. There you have it. And see, empty so far. And I think sometimes that's handy. Look, I may, depending on what it was going to be for, I may put some of the coordinating colours in. I'm not sure yet. So, or I might just stamp some foliage in one of the colours that went with it. But I did want to show you some alternates that I made using that design. So this was what you're doing this week. This one is slightly tweaked, and I've used the same DSP as in Flowers for Every Season. Oops, I've just knocked everything flying. Oh, botheration. Oops-a-daisies. Hang on, move this stuff out of the way. So, is it in view? Coming into view. I've used this one here and that. So they both have, they're both from this pack. You can see that's the other side of that one. And I thought, oops-a-daisies. Yeah, so they've got that, but I've used some of the poinsettia dies, and I've used this lovely brushed foil paper, which is also in the Christmas catalogue. So this is the stamp from Poinsettia Sweet, or whatever it's called, Place, I think it is. So the poinsettia dies and the poinsettia stamp for this. And once again, it's the flocked poinsettia paper. So I've used cinnamon cider here just to tone it down a bit. I wanted it to be a little bit more neutral on this one to make the flowers sort of stand out. So that's that card. So you'll recognise the design when I can find it. Here we go, see? Very similar in design. And the other one is this one. So once again, you'll recognise this DSP. I've used the poinsettia paper that's out of the same pack. I've used a bit of that iridescent ribbon and some of the iridescent sequins. This and the sequins are in the annual Christmas catalogue. And the magic, this one here is the poinsettia stamp set. So that's that. Haven't done anything with the insides of the cards yet. And the other thing I wanted to show you, and somewhere under all this stuff is, oh, I don't know where I put it. There we go. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Look. Here is the card map for you. Now, I did put a photo of this up on Facebook. So, one sheet of 6x6 DSP can be cut down like this. So, 1.5 inches is the first cut. 3 inches is the next, which leaves you 1.5 remaining. Okay, so 1.5, 3, 1.5. Of these pieces, you would then slice your 3-inch square into 3 1-inch strips. And then this one is 6 inches by 1.5, so you cut it into 4 1.5-inch squares. Now, I love this daisy paper, so I'll have a lovely time playing with that, but not just yet, because I wanted to show you what I did with this, because I had fun. All right, so, and I was worried I'd run out of daisy paper. So then I thought, okay, I'll make these cards. So let's start from the beginning. Oh, and I've tricked them up a bit because I don't know how not to. So this is my 1.5 by 6-inch strip, and it's actually mounted on one of the colours for every season, or flowers for every season. I'm trying to think what it's called. It's Memories and More cards and envelopes. So they're pretty cool. So you see, it's that would normally be the front. You might lay a greeting out of the card pack on there, but I thought I'd use it as card base. It's heavy enough to support the layers. And so on the top, I've got once again your flock poinsettia. I'm going to show you this. This is what you don't do when you're gluing it on too dark, because I put too much glue there and there. That's laid up, 1.5 by 6-inch strips laid up on cinnamon cider. That's one of the ornate layers dies, poinsettia dies again, and that's the Christmas gleaming stamp. That was the 1.5-inch strip. This was a 3-inch square. That's one of the other DSPs in this Flowers for Every Season bundle. Stamp again. Bit of this ribbon, which is really yummy, and it's out of one of the autumny coloured ones. I'll make sure I try and get a link for you for that, because that's really lovely ribbon, and it went so well with the cinnamon cider. This was my 3-inch single-inch squares. I'm just trying to see if you can see this. So I've also sponged the edge of that with some of the shimmer paint, just because I wanted to give it a bit of a lift, because it's almost like there's a bit of shimmer to these fern leaves. I've used the iridescent ribbon. Don't know if you can see, I've also used a bit of the shimmer paint on the stamp, poinsettia stamp, to give the background to that. It's very hard to see. And white embossed the Merry Christmas there. That was that one. And then the 4, do you remember there were 4 squares? Well, obviously I've used 3 of them. I've laid them up using the stitched shapes squares. I did emboss this, and I'm trying to see if you can see it again. First of all, I did it with leaves and embossed it, and then I thought, as in with just Versamark, and then I've embossed it using the textile embossing folder. White heat embossed the Merry Christmas, a few sequins, one of which never wants to stay where I want to put it, and that's that card. So and these are up on dimensionals, the iridescent ribbon again. So they were just using the same card map. I don't know if I'll get these on the same piece of paper. I will, actually. Trying to see if you can see them all. No, not that one. Hang on, let me shove across a bit. Yes, sort of. Okay, so they were they. So there's a few ideas for you that you might want to just take note of those. Just of how you might use. I'm just going to pull this up a bit. Look, there you go. I just thought you might be able to use these for cutting up other bits of 6x6. You might have quite an easy layout, and you don't have to work that hard at it. So there's some ideas for you. We have DSP sale coming up in October, and I'll share that link with you, or the flyer with you shortly, about what they will be. And I will set up the Zoom meetings Thursday for this week and Wednesday for the following week. So that's it from me. Stay safe, so well. We've only got a little bit longer, hopefully, and we can go have a picnic in the park. Bye bye, everybody. Have a good day.